Good evening, the time is 5:30. I'll now call the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
One day. God.
liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, first on the agenda is budget updates. Is that Lori?
Yes, so we have a presentation that will be up momentarily. All right. Okay, so I just wanted to run through the timeline first. October 27th, we had our first glance at the budget. We had it pretty much ironed up, but there was still a few missing details. And you can see that at first glance, the budget was 37,141,317. On November 24th, I provided a comprehensive presentation to the board. And it had gone up a little bit. It was at 37.2 million. This was the complete, and all of these numbers in this presentation are the general fund pieces. They do not include the specific, the other special revenues, because those don't fluctuate. So the presentation on the 24th included the complete proposal by the administration. And during that time, we talked about closure of the ELC. The board scheduled a public forum for December 1st to discuss that further and give people an opportunity to ask questions. On December 8th, we had version 1B, and we had a discussion at that point in time. And you can see that we had reduced the budget some. And that include a reduction for bus lease, general supplies, utilities, and some personnel. At that meeting, the budget committee chair, Garrett, shared as I think a public comment or something, that the unofficial recommendation for adjustment was to reduce the budget by 1.5 million. So on December 15th, there was an ELC discussion with the board in our board meeting, and then continued on to December 22nd, at which point it's not gonna scroll down. At which point the board voted to eliminate the superintendent position, and they directed administration to reduce the tax impact and look in methods 5, 6 in the high school. January 5th, which was Monday, we presented version 2.
Excuse me, is it possible to be able to follow along with the slide?
Yeah, that's where
Thank you.
I don't know if that's because
what we see and what you see are different.
yeah, it ran out of the room on that slide. So, yeah, it is in the presentation that was emailed to you. You'll see the whole thing. But on December 22nd, the board voted to eliminate the superintendent position and the related budget. And they directed administration to further reduce the budget and the tax impact and look at methods 5, 6 and the high school. So then this past Monday, we presented a revised budget at 35,479,560. So I do want to point out that I think we're all aware that it's nearly impossible to reduce a budget by 1.5 million without having impact to staffing and programming, and that impacts all students. It affects all students. So we did not take this responsibility lightly. There were several extended meetings as the administrative team, which is all of the building administrators and the leadership team, as well as leadership team meetings separately. So all of these recommendations, there was a lot of careful thought and conversation put into these recommendations. Okay. So the total changes from version 1 that was presented on November 24th. And version 2 actually add up to 1.7 million. The 1.5 million came after you saw version 1.B. And so that was the additional, we actually came up with I think it was $1,460,000 some that we came up with our second round of recommendations, but the total is 1.7 million. And this is breaking down where those reductions took place. We have them in method 1, which is our operating, our like general district expenses. We have reduction in method 3, which is facilities. We have a reduction in method 4, which is transportation. And let me run through these first and I'll go back to transportation. Method 5 is technology. Method 6 is our special education programming. And then we have all of the communities. So the huge reduction in method 4 is slightly misleading, but I wanted to show all of the change in case you're looking at documents and comparing, versions. We had originally accounted for all of the drivers under method 4. And after looking more closely at our methods, only the general transportation expenses, so the secretary, dispatcher, the director, and maintenance items belong in method 4. All of the drivers belong assigned to the communities for the routes that they drive. So we had to make that change. So that's why you see most communities having an increase and the method 4 having such a large decrease. It was just shifting money in the budget. The estimated tax impact for this latest budget, the budget version 2, estimated tax impact is as reflected on the screen. You can see that there's been a substantial decrease in all of them. We were particularly concerned with the largest increases, which were in Alsted and Charlestown, and those have come down substantially. All of our communities have now set their tax rates, so this does reflect the actual rates for fiscal year 26 for all of the communities. We have 5 pages of significant changes, and I'd like to walk through them because as I mentioned earlier, it's near impossible to make this type of a change to a budget without having impact across the board. And so we want to just make sure that we're addressing those concerns. So what I tried to do was summarize it here. If there are questions, I would encourage those questions. So the first item, and they're categorized by method and location. So the first item was the superintendent position / role that was eliminated. That was in method 1, and you can see that the amount is $208,000. The ELL teacher, last year we had increased that budget to 2 teaching positions, but that was based on student need at the time that we prepared the budget. Right now, we don't need 2 teachers, so we have eliminated one of those teachers. That's based on student need, and it was a vacant position, so there isn't a person attached to that. We are eliminating a maintenance tech position. We have a vacant position at this time, and so there isn't a person attached to that. We did need to offset that position, but eliminating the role doesn't eliminate our needs. So we did include in the budget some contracted money for contracted services. We anticipate that by eliminating this position and staff member, we're going to anticipate increased response time for work orders. We are eliminating one of our computer techs. Again, so this was done specifically to to reduce the tax impact. And it's also going to impact the response time to ticket and work orders. And it will also increase travel costs between buildings within the district because we have fewer bodies and we're just gonna have to travel more. We proposed elimination of the ELC program. So we've disclosed here teacher costs. The support staff will be going to the other programs within the district because we're just eliminating the location. We're not eliminating the full program. The 3-year-olds will go to the local communities, the preschool programs within their local communities. So we did have to shift some of the resources, but the teacher is retiring this year. And so we did eliminate that cost. And because it's somebody retiring, there's not a person related to that position. This decision is supported by declining enrollment, specifically for 3-year-olds that have been identified.
So any questions on?
Yeah, on that first
On that
page.
first page?
Yeah, okay. We have a recreational therapist position now that we are going to be reducing it to a half-time position, and we will cover those costs through grant monies. Part of this decision was driven by the need to reduce the tax impact. We have a speech language assistant position that's already part-time, and it's also already partially covered by grant monies. We are going to eliminate that role, and that will impact our non-identified systems in our early elementary. So we might not see it's, so I think that the key point here is that when it has an impact on our early elementary kiddos, that compounds each year, because if you don't catch it earlier, provide interventions when they're younger, the problems can grow. So we have behavior assistance. We have 2 positions that we are eliminating to reduce the tax impact. And again, this is going to decrease our support in our special programs. We have speech language pathologists. I'm not sure what it's highlighted. Sorry about that. That the position is currently vacant. So there isn't a body associated with that position. It's being eliminated to reduce the tax impact. And again, it has an impact on early elementary situations. Out of district tuition, we are reducing that by 100,000, and it's important to know that we have very limited options and resources to cover that reduction. We do have a reserve that if we are going into a deficit situation, we can tap into, but the district must be going into a deficit because of special education costs at this time for us to be able to utilize that. If we can, we'll tap into grant monies before we would get to that position. But there are a lot of things that we're eliminating from special ed now that we'll need to tap into grant money if we need to provide the services, because we don't have any. There isn't anything left in the budget for that. So any questions on this page? All right, so moving out of the methods and into the communities. We have a secretary in Epworth that is retiring. And she is also, I think, helps with some reading intervention. We are eliminating that position. It's through attrition. There isn't a person attached to it. We have an interventionist in the Alstead schools that we are eliminating that position to reduce the tax impact. There is somebody in that position currently, but that position will be eliminated. In Charlestown, we have a special ed para position that's vacant, and we've had a change in student needs, so we are eliminating that position. We have a vacancy in our library assistant position, and so what we did is we built in additional hours in the budget for the CPS position. And because of the locations of the schools are close enough, the principals felt that they could share services there. So we are going to eliminate this position. We have an additional special ed para position in Charlestown that is retiring. And there's been a change in student need, so we are going to eliminate that position. We are reducing staff at CMS, 2 teacher roles. And this is being done to reduce the tax impact. This will potentially increase class sizes and there potentially require a modification to the current CMS model. Any questions here?
Can we elaborate a little bit on modification to CMS model?
So Corey is here, and she may want to speak to it, but in general, there's a model that is being used to support students, through the use of teachers versus paraprofessionals. So increased, level of education to support our students. So you'll see a decrease in paraprofessionals, but an increase in teachers. So they're more highly skilled to be able to support our students in a different way.
In one of the presentations, it was CCA, is that what you referred to?
So CCA stands for Charlestown Attendance Area, so that would be, okay, correct. So when you go on to the next page, you will see an additional, we broke it up. Right now, we are being general when it comes to teachers.
Yeah.
Because that, for a number of different reasons, but ultimately, we're gonna be looking at this and the data, make a decision on what would need to happen, but, the principals understand the need for, a reduction in the, based on tax rate, and this is a direct impact to Charlestown. So as a result, this is an area that we had to look at very carefully, and we're very methodical in how we went about it.
Thank you.
So you can see here the continuation. We have a teacher at the primary school, same sort of category, that we're eliminating the position to reduce the tax impact. And that does create a potential for an increase to class sizes. Moving on to the high school. We are eliminating the earth science teacher position. It's vacant. It's been a difficult position to fill. It was actually converted from a math teacher. That's a position that has been vacant. The board had approved us, I don't remember if it was the budget cycle or if it was outside of the budget cycle, but it was approved to convert that position from math to science, and we haven't been able to fill it. So we are going to eliminate that position instead of pursuing filling. We are eliminating tuition and transportation for River Valley Tech Center. This has a student impact to 8 students within our communities and 3 outside that are attending our school. This choice is coming about to reduce the tax impact. And this amount is the equivalent of 2.5 teaching positions at the high school, which if we were to eliminate 2.5 positions in lieu of this, it would have a greater impact on the student population. We are eliminating a special education teacher position at the high school. This is being done to reduce the tax impact. It will likely increase caseloads. We will still be able to meet our IEP requirements. We had proposed the addition of a full-time CTE director. And so that was in version 1. But we have removed that as well. So it has a net 0 impact because it went in and came out. But that is being done to reduce the tax impact, and it limits our ability to grow the local programming. Any questions?
Yes, on the RVTC tuition and transportation. Just curious on how all this tuition works. Do the three outside district students get tuition to the district at whatever the rate is, and then with going to the RBTC, that probably costs more than what standard services costs. Does we actually go backwards financially on those three students? We do.
Yeah, but there's no additional cost by tuitioning in here to our district.
I just.
They have the benefits of.
So just
full
for clarification, if myself.
Yeah.
Some way that how the district student. Tuition is what the tuition is, and then if they cost more because they take advantage of a good program. We foot the bill. Okay, thank you.
I also wanted to elaborate on the full-time CPE director. It was discussed pretty extensively. We are gonna have a part-time, we're gonna remain status quo. There's a part-time person, part of it is in the budget, and the other portion is run through Perkins grant, which is the CPE grant. So part of her salary is run through a grant, part of it's through the budget.
How many more years do we have that grant?
That grant is pretty stable, I will say. It's pretty loosely. But again, as you build programs within CTE, you will increase money within the grant. Right now, we're pretty status quo. We are, next school year, we are adding pet science. It will not increase. It will not involve an extra body and an extra FTE to post that. And that is being offered in the program of studies. But we have been working on that for about 3 years, so. That is kind of the length of time it takes to move through the logistics of CT as we build it. Moving away from a full-time director slides us back. It can be offset at the same time, but again, it needs to be analyzed a little bit more.
Question?
Yep.
So CPS and the teacher. When you say it's gonna increase class sizes, what? I'm sure you're looking at the numbers in what's coming
Correct.
for more than a number of years, right? Over not just one, but several, I'm assuming. And what is the, have you guys come to a determination on what the class size that you're looking for? I mean, because we've never heard one, we've always asked for one. What's the rough class size that you're looking for? 20, 25, 30, 15
So
at that level?
we have a school board policy based on class size. I will say that it outlines 25 or less and 20 or
Okay.
less within a K2 set. I wouldn't say less. Approximately 20. Within a K2 setting. And as principal several years ago, that was one of the models that I took in to consideration when looking at when we combine North Charlestown and Charlestown. That's why you see a greater number in below the K2 setting. The other thing to keep in mind in elementary school, you will see bubble classes go through, which means that there is a class that for some reason may have like pretty consistent, say 40, 40 and 40, 1 year will jump up to 55 and you're like, well, what is, so we try to plan, but at the same time, it's difficult in an elementary school setting.
So the reduction, they'll be able to handle.
We will be able to handle that.
Is this the same methodology you're using at the high school as well, class sizes?
I can, when you look at.
So when you're
our-
doing reductions, you're looking at what the class sizes currently are?
There's discussion on class sizes.
Okay.
As you enter into the high school realm, it gets more complex. But at the same, I understand what you're trying to say.
Can I make a clarifying statement before we move on to this page? I just want to clarify that, having students for tuition in here from other districts is not, a negative, for us when they go to RVTC. The tuition rate that those students pay is still greater than what we would pay to RVTC. So I just want to make sure that the public and the budget committee is aware, do not lose the money per se when students go.
Thanks for the clarification. It didn't sound that way
It-
initially.
Yes,
Thank you.
So from my perspective, we have been offering a highly discounted rate for tuition, which doesn't.
Yeah,
that is true.
But what
But it
it
is
was
not-
saying,
no.
is
covering our cost too. But it's covering away, so.
so I apologize for this, but I realized that, a page of the slide was deleted. We are also eliminating a foreign language, teacher position at the high school. And so we looked at, would that be French or would it be Spanish? We're going to be eliminating the French program. Spanish is the, second most popular language in the world, as well as the US. We have a Spanish program in middle school, and so for continuity, it makes, sense to retain Spanish. I don't believe it's required for, New Hampshire education, it's beneficial to the, those that are graduating, going on to college, that, it's good for them to have, a foreign language option.
So typically colleges. Most colleges look for 2 foreign language classes. That has been declining, but at the same time, it is a fact around the nation, depending on what school you're looking at.
So.
Chris,
Is there any consideration, out in the district, outside the district? That foreign languages goes more to a CTE type style program? Where, because the numbers are declining, that, if someone does want to pursue that, more of a language type school situation,
That
it
is-
would cost less for us, quite frankly, but.
It's something that has not been studied extensively, but something that we definitely look into.
I didn't know if the state or anybody was doing that as
So-
well,
so
sharing
for-
costs on language.
So currently, when you look at foreign language as a whole, you have 80 students, semester 1 and semester 2.
Right.
Approximately. And there is when you start working out the math, we need to start looking at what is feasible for class size, and having 2 at this moment does not always present itself the best way. We can still have a average class size within our policy, ultimately 16 to 17 in a foreign language class, and meet everybody's needs within that. So that is an area that we have thought very hard about. It is a difficult decision because it is program based. When it really came down to the continuity between middle school, high school, and the language as a whole being spoken throughout the US. And the world, it's nothing new.
Also, the New Hampshire Scholars Program, they do 2 credits of foreign language, so they can do that. Does VLAX offer other languages?
Correct. VLAX is an option. It will remain an option. They go past French, they go into German, there are several different languages that you take. Via VLAX. Which can remain an option. Right now, sorry. Right, for second semester of this year, we have 47 Spanish students signed up, and we have 35 French students signed up. We're seeing an increase in Spanish. And that is the area that we're going to continue to focus on as we move forward.
So we have a vacancy in science. We currently have how many science teachers? We would have had 5 then, you currently have 4? At the high school?
I believe we have 4.
So our class size is currently 15.5 kids. A reduction of 1 science teacher gets us to 20, 21. Is any consideration regarding those?
Not exploiting that.
And science is different, because
That's
you
right.
have to have, you have physics teachers who can only teach, who are credentialed to teach physics. And they can only teach physics. You have biology teachers who are credentialed to teach biology, and they can only teach biology, so. Science is a little different, you might not. We're offering physics, we have to have a physics teacher, because they have to be credentialed in order to teach it. I don't think we're offering physics, are we?
We
We're
are.
offering physics, and that physics teacher probably teaches some other like general chemistry, which is a great combo, because that normally doesn't happen, so. Chemistry, science is a little bit different than like a.
I don't disagree with you, but many are teaching biology. 2 teachers are teaching bio, straight bio. So there, to me, I'm just saying, there's room there.
And I think every semester it looks a little different depending on the schedule of students.
Okay,
So
I'm just saying,
I,
it's in the numbers.
Okay, bottom line, what this comes down to is our operating budget for this year is a little over $38 million. Now, that does include all of the warrant articles that were posed and passed last year. So that's rolled into our current operating budget. Our proposed budget is 37.5 million, which is a reduction of about 550,000 and 1.44%. It does not include our warrant articles.
So that's not an apples to apples.
No, it's not apples to apples, but it is in compliance with New Hampshire way.
So
It's how I have to present it.
what is the apples to apples comparison?
Don't know that because we don't have any, we haven't voted on and determined any.
We have a
warrant articles yet.
25-26 operating budget.
I'm sorry,
We have a 25-26 operating budget. We can subtract out the warrant articles to see an apples to apples comparison.
it's roughly, if I recall correctly, it was roughly 400,000 or 500,000. I don't have I did bring that documentation with me. I do have it in the office.
It's brought into the same
Yeah.
problem with the town, right?
Yeah, you get it, have that.
Looking at
We
warrant
can-
articles
I
after
can,
the
I can
fact.
tell you what we voted on last year.
State law or not, or however, that's just misleading.
I understand that, and I cover that in every presentation every year. There's no way around it. It's
Well,
what
there is.
I have to do.
There is, you just subtract out the warrant articles from the number.
So the number that must go on the warrant article, if this
I'm not worried
budget is.
about what is on the warrant. I'm trying to get down to what the real,
So it's 36,901,687.
so there was actually a budget
681.
increase. Not a budget decrease. That's what happened. You increased the budget by over $1 million. By doing this, it's false representation to the voters.
You understand that what she's stating there is what has to go on. the warrant.
We're not, the voters are looking for operating money. The warrant articles will get added, same thing on the town. The warrant articles get added to the budget after they're passed.
Mhm.
But the real true thing is the operating budget. What does it cost you to operate the school? And we've increased it by over $1 million, not decreased it.
So I will say that my first year here, I was asked specifically to do what you're asking me to do. And it went to the budget hearing in that presentation. And there were problems because that isn't the number that actually goes into the warrant article. And so when the community members vote, that's what they're voting on. And that is the prescribed
method.
for disclosure.
So maybe
Um,
have Jamie-
I think that Jamie will concur with what I'm saying.
To me, it's foolishness. I
I-
would recommend that we don't vote for it tonight. To the budget committee.
Is that a motion?
make a motion that we relook at this number again in terms of operating budget to operating budget.
Do I have a second?
Yep.
Hearing none,
Hearing none, it doesn't go.
moving on.
Okay, so can I talk?
I'd like to make.
Can
one
you hear
statement.
me?
I can hear you, Jamie. I'd like to make one statement. So it's an RSA that says you have to present it this way?
Yes.
There's specific language you'll see in.
So RSA or not, we can still do what the RSA says, and then in the name of transparency to the community and the taxpayers, we could also tell people what apples to apples is.
Sure, when they look at the state reporting, they're gonna see what I'm presenting and not apples to apples.
Here, I've said my piece. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, what Lori's trying to explain, we're not a town, we're a school district and the laws are different. Okay, so as much as you want to try to apply town, whatever to school district, it doesn't work. Once the public votes a warrant article, it becomes a part of the general fund budget.
Part of the budget.
And you have to show that number in totality when you're representing all of the information.
So
You
Jamie,
can't
can I-
just pick and choose what you think should be in there. As much as you want to, you can't.
So to get a real apples to apples, then we'd have to understand this year's warrant articles hypothetically if they passed to compare it to last year's operating budget.
Correct.
Okay.
And you
thank
don't have a crystal ball, so you don't know what's gonna pass.
I'm not
That's what
gonna
Lori's
argue-
trying to say.
I'm not gonna argue with that. It's just the people want transparency and the non-apples to apples, whether we're bound by it or not, confuses the general public. Cause it confuses me sometimes trying to keep up with it. So that's why some of us are hung on it.
What about, is this what you're going to go through in the budget, in the budget hearing?
The budget hearing, I believe, is the budget.
Oh, they present that, okay.
Mhm.
Because I'm just wondering, when we are presenting this to the public, is there a way of being able to break this more down, put down a couple, like, put operating 2025-26 operating budget and somehow say under that, how much of that was the warrant articles? And then in the proposed budget, what the proposed warrant articles are, what the cost of that is. Because we know what the proposed warrant articles, what the cost of those proposed warrant articles are, correct?
We haven't even begun to discuss, so
Right.
I can't say yes, we do.
Okay.
I have proposals
will.
that's situation here.
Right,
So
I'm just,
I wanna be,
for presentation purposes, not what's gonna go on the warrant, but
Mhm.
for presentation purposes. For people who are willing to either join in via Zoom or come to the hearing and come to the big meeting.
Mhm.
If there's a way of breaking that down more so that they can see, okay, this is what we have to put on the warrant. This is what the warrant's gonna look like. And this is how we came up with this operating budget for last year. And here's the proposed budget, then what must be added to that is the teacher contract and all the other warrant articles.
That's
So
correct.
that they can see what all of that is,
Right,
because that teacher contract's gonna hit hard.
yeah, of course, we know that, but what we're looking at now is not really truly representative. It, by legal terms, it is, and I get it.
yes, I just wanna be clear that like, I'm not being, so when we talk about not being transparent, that's not what's happening from.
not
I understand the
Really
confusion.
coming at you, Lori. It's
No, I-
never, I'm coming against the system.
Yeah, and
that
I
we're
understand,
bound to.
I appreciate you for clarification on.
Oh, and then, thank you, Sarah. That is kind of my angle said better.
Yes, you know, I mean, and making it clear to people, this is not what's gonna be on the warrant, you know? The warrant has to be the way the warrant has to be,
That's correct.
but
As
But
did
what
the
you're
state
describing would be the level of transparency and apples to
right,
apples. that-
and so that you can see what everything actually is, this is where we are. And yes, the proposed budget is more or less, or whatever it is, to last year's proposed budget. So that that's able to be seen, and it doesn't look as if it's being hidden. Which it isn't. I know, Lori, that you
Mhm.
never would hide
I
anything.
just want to be clear. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to, I just wanna look at the state report, because that's what gets posted is the state report. It's not. It isn't the information that, you know, I have, disclosed and shared through the course of the budget discussions. It's the state report, budget report that gets posted, at voting time. And so I'm trying to look, because there is some breakdown there, I believe. Anyway, point taken, I'll just move on if there are no further questions. Okay. Warrant articles. You can see this is warrant article 1 that's been proposed. I do not have amounts in there because I need to have a budget amount put in there, and I need to finish updating the default calculation. I have not had an opportunity to fold all of these changes into the default calculation. You can see that the first 2 lines of this is new information. It's required now by RSA 189.75. And so that's the cost per pupil calculation, and then we're required to include proficiency numbers. So that's the information that is there.
36%.
For warrant article 2, this is the proposed teachers
Did
agreement.
somebody online have a question?
I think that was Chaz. I don't believe he has a question.
Okay,
No.
I just heard.
No, sorry.
No problem. Just wanted to make
These
sure.
proficiencies, or is that where?
I was just,
where
I
we
was
are
just
off?
noticing the 36% proficiency
So
in math.
this information is 2025 data.
And when you look at this, it does show that we are performing well in ELA. Math is still an area that we continue to focus on. Science is above the state average. I believe ELA and science are above. Math is at, I believe, but I would have to, I could verify that.
Okay, thank you.
So again, warrant article 2 is the bargaining agreement with the teachers union that's been ratified by both the school board and the union. We're looking at $493,260.62 for this year. And this would of course be added to the budget that is proposed. For warrant article 3, we're looking at $36,500 for capital improvements to Vilas to replace the storage shed, repair elevator door switches, and install a window in the focus room. The breakdown and details have all been provided to you previously in the binder. It's been there. So this is just the proposed warrant article. Again, these are all proposals. I just threw everything out here because we didn't have discussion and decide what we're moving forward with. You can see that the trust balance currently is at 101,000. Question?
I'm just looking at the spreadsheet. It's the trust fund summary.
Mm-hmm.
That number says Alsted's capital reserve fund is. Am I reading something incorrect? It says 40,000 on it.
There are 2
Maybe it's a different tab.
Alsteds, I believe.
Just going back to the conversation around performance indicators, which is required by the new RSA. Currently, our district ELA score for 2025 is 56. The state is 55. Math, our district is 36. The state is 42. And science, we are above. The district is 41. The state is 38. When you look at the trends for the past 23, 24, and 25, you see similar trends in math and similar trends in ELA.
Can I ask you a question? When you say a proficiency and it's 56%, so 56% of our students are at or above the level they need to be at.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, proficient or above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just.
If everybody's okay, hi, Joe, glad to have you with us. Did you want to add something about the?
My name's Joe Levesque, I'm a selectman in Alsted. About a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, we got a note from, I think from Lori, saying that about $60,000 worth of our capital reserve fund was not properly withdrawn from the thing, and I think this is that trust balance is wrong. I think that Kevin's correct, it's around $40,000 left.
So, I have a schedule here that shows the July 1, 2025 balance. It shows transfers in that the school made deposits. It has net income. It has unrealized gains, which gives us a balance of 161,000. We have a transfer out that we're posting of 60,698.57, which is the request that you're referencing.
Those were from previous work that
Yes.
was done, it just wasn't
Yes.
built to the.
No, I understand that. I think that for years,
Yeah.
since I've been here, we've been sharing an estimated amount. We have caught up all of our requests for the work that has been performed. And we have created a schedule that was shared out with everyone that has the actual amount. So it ties into the MS9s for July 1. We receive regular MS9s from,
Yeah.
well, not everybody, but most of the communities, several of the communities, we receive regular MS9s on a monthly basis. And so this schedule is maintained and is accurate.
Okay, so you're saying that number is accurate at this
Yes.
moment, and to take another 36.5 out
Yes.
of it isn't a big deal.
Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to check on that.
Yes.
because It's about the amount that Kevin was talking.
well, he found, he found the correct tab.
Okay.
All right, so proposed warrant article 4 is for Charlestown voters to appropriate $115,720 for capital improvements. And this, at the primary school, we would replace the fire alarm panel and we would repoint bricks on the gym. And at the middle school, we have asbestos abatement that we'd like to do. And we would like to replace the back gym steps. The trust balance at this time is $282,286. Article 5 is.
Chris had a question, sorry.
Mhm.
Again, what's involved with the gym steps? What exactly are we gonna do with the gym steps?
Okay, so the
It
gym,
seems like a big, from what I understand, move a massive piece of concrete and put something else in its place.
I don't know if it was repairing or if it's actually replacing. I do have replaced, so that's what was on there.
I would recommend that whatever the number is, it's somewhere in the 50s that someone would,
So this is information that was included in your budget binder.
right?
This is the first question I'm receiving. And if you give me just a moment, I will go and find the breakdown.
I mean, did we have a concrete specialist come in and tell us this is what we needed to do, or is it a patch job? I am a resident, I know what those back stairs look like, I'm just curious.
Unfortunately, I don't have that specific information and our facility representation isn't here. And if my computer will open the file, I can give you a specific number out of the 115.
Jamie, did you have something to add to this part of the conversation?
Yeah, the only thing I'm gonna add is that when we finalize the draft of the warrant articles, perhaps to avoid any confusion, because Lori's right. what you're putting on is as of audited financials, which is usually 6/30, but there may be other withdrawals during this fiscal year that will occur that will change those. So maybe when you put the trust balance on, you just put the date next to it. Trust balance, blah, blah, as of 6/30, 2025. Because people, as we know, voted warrant articles that may.
Okay. So. Do you want me to answer your first question?
Oh, yes, sir. That'd be great.
Okay, so I can't provide a complete answer, but I can tell you that the, replacing the back gym steps is at 48,220. And I did request that specific, quotes were obtained.
Sure.
So I just,
I'm just,
I can't.
I
provide
just wanted, would, seems overkill if we're gonna replace a massive piece of concrete.
Mhm.
And asbestos abatement, how much on that and what? is that?
25,000, and that's, we've been using a standard 25,000 per room, so that's a room.
Removing rugs, in same thing you did before.
Mhm.
Yes, because that's, needs to be done.
So,
The
and
entire
then
school. quite frankly.
the fire alarm panel is 32,000, and repointing the bricks is 10,500.
Could I recommend that you put dollar figures by each of those things? So that whoever's reading the article will understand exactly the dollar amount. That would be fantastic. I'm not trying to make you any more work, just trying to.
I use the language that has historically been used, so I'm open to.
Specifics are good for the community, I think, anyway. Thank you.
I'm gonna jump in again. Sorry. I know you can't see me. I apologize. You can do that with specific dollar amounts. However, you need to be sure that the wording is appropriate or it can negate work if it comes in over. And keep in mind, you're proposing these articles almost a year in advance of work that may be done. So that's why normally dollar amounts for each one of the pieces of the projects aren't included in articles. You may be able to do wording that says up to a dollar amount or approximate, but it will still have to be approved by the DRA. Thank you.
Well, I'm just thinking with that
Kevin.
synopsis.
Wanted to say.
Oh,
something.
sorry, Kevin, I didn't see you on my
I'm sorry,
mic.
I'm trying to get my whole sentence out. For every warrant article on the ballot, there is an additional explanation, what's it called?
Information.
Information.
It doesn't go on the actual ballot, but it does go on the advance.
Right.
That makes sense.
Put that information,
The
be
budget
the
digest.
information on the warrant article, but could that also for the budget hearing and for the deliberative session, could it also be that information, not as part of the warrant article? Because I agree with Jamie, you don't want to get ourselves stuck by having to, can't do something because of the budget.
Well, with that philosophy, if we use that philosophy, then if we're only appropriate 115,000 and all three of these tasks come over that, we can't do any of it. All we're trying to do is illuminate to what we're generally budgeting for. And if you go over on a task, well, then you go to the capital reserves funds and you get some money from Charleston.
Can't do that.
So we can't do that.
Or, well, either way, if we run over on it, what do we do then?
So what has happened is that not all the projects run over. So we've been able to work within the confines of the warrant article and the sum total for all of the projects. We also have on occasion dipped into the regular like repair and maintenance within that facilities line items to make up difference. And if it's substantially different, well then yeah, we would have to phase it or not do it.
I agree with Jamie, it shouldn't be in the detail of the warrant article by piece. Because if any one of those goes over, you can't do the project because it's not, hasn't been appropriated.
But we
Those
can
are
include it in
grossly
the
underused.
information for
Yeah, that makes sense.
all of the meetings, leading up to. Article 5 is the capital improvement warrant article for Walpole schools. It's $38,000 for asbestos abatement and to replace fencing with said funds to come from the capital reserve. The reserve balance is at $305,000. So again, asbestos abatement's 25 grand, and so the fencing is the additional 13,000. Article 6 is to request appropriation of $100,700 to resurface the high school track with said funds to come from the capital reserve. The reserve balance right now is at 818,000, almost 1819. Almost 819, sorry. Those are the straightforward warrant articles, and now it's gonna get a little convoluted. So in the time I've been here, we have historically elected to include a warrant article in which if there is a surplus, we would take, it's been 250,000. I think previous years it's been 500, and it would be allocated across the different funds. This is the language for that. I put the percentages in. I didn't know what dollar amounts. I don't have dollar amounts in there. But if you wanted to consider 250,000, you can see the breakout of what that would be for each community. It's in the same order in which the language of the warrant is laid out. And then there's also 500,000 if you wanted to consider that.
So it looks like the 500 is only if they go into the individual town capital reserves and nothing for the high school.
That's the language that I use because that's been what we have done while I've been here. We could change this to include putting money into the high school. However, also part of the premise of why I didn't fold that in is you'll see in the next 2 or 3 proposed articles. We've been talking about discontinuing the health insurance capital reserve, which I think absolutely needs to be done. My recommendation. I know it's not my choice, my recommendation. And here's the proposed warrant article to do that. And this would transfer the money into the general fund, which then makes it available for distribution in July 1st. The next article is if and only if the previous article, Article 8 passes, shall the district vote to raise and appropriate $750,000 to be placed into the high school capital reserve fund previously established. And the sum would come from the June 30 fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, and no amount would be raised from taxation. If Article 8 fails, this article shall not take effect.
Would it be better instead of 750,000, just to put whatever the balance of that capital reserve is on July 1st?
I believe we have to include a specific amount, and so I don't know what, gains, losses would occur between now and then, so certainly we can change the number.
Yeah, it could be amended at town meeting as
Right.
negative anyway. Yeah,
But I don't think I can have language that is equal to the amount added.
Yep, I agree.
Then moving on to Article 10, shall the Fall Mountain District, shall the district vote to appoint the Fall Mountain Regional School Board as agents to expend from the high school capital reserve previously established. And that's leading into Article 11, where we talk about the paving. So I do want to say that when Will Davis met with us in December, he said he wasn't sure he would have an actual quote or an RFP number. So his opinion of costs that he provided is $1,061,660. He was still waiting for a piece of information and said that this might need to be tweaked in January. It has not yet been tweaked. Being conservative and cautious, I'm throwing in 1.5 million just to, as a number versus 1,061,660. In case it does come in at a higher cost, we would have a warrant that would address that. clearly we wouldn't spend the 1.5 if we didn't need to. But so this warrant article, is proposing, allocation of funds for the project. And then it goes on to say to authorize the withdrawal of X amount from the Fall Mountain Regional High School Capital Reserve Fund created for that purpose, and the balance is to come from general taxation. This can be contingent on the passing of Articles 8 and or 9. We would need to add some additional language. So the reason right now we don't know that the monies, the 750,000 would be added to the high school capital reserve. So without knowing that for certain, I would be hesitant to recommend that we're authorizing the withdrawal of that amount from the total amount from the reserve, because it's not there now. And if it does, pass and goes in, so 750, and we were what, I think 818 for the high school, that's still,
Less than.
yeah. So it's still a little bit short, so you would still be needing to look at, raising funds from taxation or, I don't know, putting other funds into the high school from surplus if there is, and at this point, I can't tell you whether we'll have surplus or not, because we still have some pending significant items, so.
Before we move on to.
Are warrant articles for the school district non-lapsing by definition?
No,
So would you be safer to put that this is a non-lapsing warrant article?
yeah, we could add that, but
If it doesn't
if we
happen?
can't fund it, then we can't
Well,
fund
but
it.
yeah, but I don't know. I'm just
Right.
thinking that if it doesn't happen, then then you gotta go back through this process again next year to
But-
make it non-lapsing.
Well, my understanding that non-lapsing is beneficial, so like if you can fully fund the project but you can't
Yeah, you
complete
can't
it.
do it. Right.
Right, and this, we're concerned of it being in the reverse, that we're not able to fund it.
Yeah. I don't-
Because again,
Right.
if we make it contingent on 8 or 9. And the monies don't go in, then this wouldn't even be considered, people could vote yes, but if 8 and 9 don't pass, or 8 or 9, however we word it. It wouldn't matter, this wouldn't pass and be valid.
Okay,
Hold
yeah,
on, Chris, one sec.
Yeah, Jamie.
Jamie's been waiting.
oh,
Go ahead, Jamie.
I think you answered my question, but yeah, I have concerns about the balance of 1.5 million is to come from general taxation. And I'm sure in my limited memory that the DRA probably wouldn't let us change that line to say something like any balance due would be raised from general taxation, right? It has to have a sum certain.
I believe so, and this language, by the way, it was proposed from our legal counsel.
Okay. All
Has
right.
not
Yeah.
yet been reviewed by the DRA, but will be before.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's a conversation for the school board about whether or not we want to make it contingent on 8 or 9. All right. Thank you.
my question was that, can we go back to 8, 9? I'm still trying to follow the math.
Mhm. So 8 is closing the insurance fund.
Okay.
750, right?
Yep.
9 was proposing that we take 750 from our surplus, which would be created from closing the insurance, to add to the high school. So that's 750, and if we go back to the high school, that's 818.
Is
So
that-
we're barely over the 1.5.
Is that before the $100,000 or after the $100,000?
That's before, all of these are before,
Right.
to show that there's enough, so if you're wanting to do both. You're gonna need, 1.6, almost 1.7. And you don't really wanna exhaust all of that in one year. I wouldn't think.
Jamie, you have another question?
I do. I'm sorry. And I'll be there next week in person, as long as the weather holds. I vaguely remember closing a fund and being able to designate where that money goes into another fund in one article. Have we asked that question?
So,
instead of bringing it in as surplus,
Mhm.
which makes it, which makes it more difficult. I
Mhm.
thought you could close a fund and designate where the monies go into another fund directly.
So, I do have sample language to that effect. I didn't want to be presumptuous with, I wasn't sure what the appetite was for this, but I thought it was safer to present
Yeah.
the steps.
Yeah.
I believe, believe I have language from the attorney, that that I think we'll be looking at and seeing, with special ed, I think. That allows you to do that.
Sure, yeah.
So again, that
I
would be,
think that would be less confusing if it was less articles that just said, we want to close this fund and move the money to, well, the school board anyway, would like to potentially see the fund closed and the money moved to the high school for the specific purpose of using it to pave, to take care of the dangerous parking lot, right? So I'd be in favor of that.
Okay. So I guess it's a Monday discussion. Okay. All right. But Chris, are you good with, can I like zoom back up to, okay.
Thank you much. What's the purpose of Article 10?
So currently, the school board doesn't have the authorization or ability to hold a public hearing and withdraw funds from this capital reserve. It has to go on a warrant article to the public for a vote.
It's typical. It's typical.
Is this a new,
Select boards.
is this a new fund or this?
No, this is an existing fund.
Okay.
Just changing the agent.
Yeah, it's just changing the agent for expenditure. So, like the special education reserve, the school board has the ability to hold a public hearing and then vote and decide whether or not to utilize and access funds. The language for the special education fund is really restricted right now, but it's been my experience that most often in school districts, the school board has is the agent and can transact business. So, for instance, we've had some boiler failures over the last year or two. We were fortunate. We had funds overall available district-wide to compensate and cover those failures. It would have been ideal if you could have tapped into the capital reserve for that community to cover that cost, and you couldn't because you're not the agent to expend.
Jamie,
Yeah, to your question, I think it was Kevin, sorry. And tagging on to what Lori's saying, it's a timing issue, right? If the public has purview over whether or not the funds can be withdrawn for the purpose of the funds, it makes you have to wait another year to put a warrant article out. And so by making the school board agents on a fund, as long as the fund has a specific and clear defined purpose, it removes the lag in time, if you will, where it presents an issue if something happens. So I hate to say it makes it easier, but it does make it easier to get a project done if timing is an issue. And as we all know, timing from one year to the next on costs can be really prohibitive if you have to wait a year. The cost can go from 1.5 to who knows, right?
Right.
Like so.
So I
Thank
think that ties to Chris's question and concern that like if projects come over, what can you do? If you're the agent to expend, the process would be that like, hey, we need to do or want to do XYZ project, we're gonna go get quote, and then you hold a public hearing and then you act on it. Now, we have to get quotes in September or October to prepare for budget season. We can't do anything until July. a lot can transpire between them.
This is just for the high
Right,
school.
plus the other thing to, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, apologies, folks. Plus the other thing to remember that, these funds are not held in our bank account, right? They're held by the trustees of the different towns. And we have to petition the towns with backup documentation. So it's not like a free-for-all where the school board can just say to Lori, withdraw the money and spend it, right? There's still folks who are looking at what we're doing to be sure that it's appropriate. Okay, so I know that people are sometimes afraid to allow school boards to be agents, but they're agents, meaning they can request without having to have a warrant article, but they still have to have approval from the folks who are holding the monies in trust, right? So there's still a process by which you're not going to do the wrong thing.
The follow-up question, this is just for the high school, the boiler was not at the high school, it was somewhere else.
No, it was not.
So, right, it's somewhere else, so we this doesn't fix all the problems, we have to have
No.
a warrant article for all of them, we're not gonna do that, because that's too many warrant. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any further questions on this warrant article? So I'll get guidance from the board. And I'll try to have, alternative language condensing those articles. So now in Article 12, currently our special education trust, again, it requires us to be going into the district to be going into a deficit position specifically related to special education costs before we can utilize any of those funds. So this is to propose language to change the purpose of this rolls it into it closes it and rolls it into the general fund. So this is similar to the situation we just looked at for the high school, but I do have alternative wording. This is a contingent, Article 13 is contingent on Article 12 passing. And what this would do, it would allow us to access the funds if we have unanticipated costs associated with related services or providing special education, district tuition, transportation costs, those things that if you're not anticipating, those can be really costly and
Can we
hurt.
back up to Article 12 for a second?
Mhm.
We just want to get rid of this to generate revenue, or just because we can't use it unless we're in deficit?
We can't utilize it unless it's in deficit. So this is the same situation that we were proposing with the high school, that we were gonna close it, roll it into our surplus, and then the next warrant article, if this passes, would create the new fund with a different guideline for accessing it.
Yeah.
So I will also
So this is,
come with
in
language.
layman terms, just making it easier for you guys to access the money if you need it.
Yes, and again, by easier to access it, the parameters of the reserve is created that would allow us to access it. We're required by RSAs to hold a public hearing, then the board makes the decision. And then we have to petition the trustees for where the funds are held. And they review our requests, which include board minutes and invoices, and compare that to the purpose for the capital reserve, and then distribute funds. So I have yet to run into a situation where my request has been denied, but that's because I'm very meticulous in following the guidelines for the use of the funds. So that's what this is doing, is it's just trying to loosen the parameters. And the board is already the agent to expend. But again, because of the parameters and how the reserve was created, it's very restrictive on how we can access it. So that's $390,000 that we can't touch unless we're going into deficit.
And just to be clear for the voters, when the time comes, the 390 stays for special ed. It's aligned specifically for special education costs. It doesn't go
If that fund closes.
Yes, so
It
that-
goes into, I went back too far. Nope. Oh my gosh, hit the wrong button, sorry. If that closes, the 390,000 rolls into the general fund, it's not restricted for anything, it's available as surplus. But then we're saying, if that article passes.
Yeah.
This is what we wanna do, we wanna,
So the ultimate goal is to still, okay.
yeah, it's, the ultimate goal is to retain the money for special education.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay, so, I don't know if I covered this sufficiently.
No,
in
that
the
clarified it
conversation
good for me,
with you.
thank you.
Okay, all right. Warrant Article 14 is related to withdrawal of the Walpole, district, creating the pre-existing district. This is language, from the attorneys prescribed by the RSAs. This can't be changed. This isn't something that can be changed at the deliberative session or anything. We have a similar warrant article for Langdon. Again, same situation, prescribed language. And then we have an open enrollment. We have a proposal. There are two different options here for open enrollment. And the language came from the attorneys. So this is something that we would need to discuss, the board would need to discuss and provide guidance as to which avenue you'd like to go with. And we are recommending that we do have a warrant article to address open enrollment. And what that will do is that'll provide the framework so we can kind of guard unanticipated costs for if a family chooses to send a student from our district to another district that may be an open enrollment, we would then have to pay the other district 80% of our cost per pupil, which is a little over $19,000. And we would have no recourse. But if we declare ourselves to be an open enrollment district, we can set parameters as to how many students we will allow to exit the district under open enrollment and how many students we would receive or accept under open enrollment. So if a district, let's see, I guess Claremont's the closest, right? So if a family in Claremont wanted to send a child to one of our Charlestown schools or our high school, and we were an open enrollment, the district would be obligated to pay us 80% of their cost per pupil. If you don't have that arrangement, then it's, you're negotiating tuition with parents, they can go to EFA, they might have the resources. But districts are not obligated to make that payment if they are an open enrollment school. And we can define it by school building, we can define it by program, we can define it by the district. So it's a larger discussion that the board needs to have so we can set the parameters for this. Along with this issue, new this year, we're required to have a budget line item for both our revenue and our expenditures to address open enrollment. And currently we have $1 in each of those line items. Ideally, we would set this up in such a way that I wouldn't need more than $1. I wouldn't use the $1 for the expenditure. And that we would be able to accept revenue. But again, there's a lot of legwork to go
On this
into that.
80% you just referenced several times when I was trying to follow you, who's losing the 20%? The district that's sending somebody here or us?
So we have our cost per pupil, we still receive the adequacy aid, that's what she said, right?
Yes.
We still receive the adequacy aid, which is what, 4,500 is the base, per student. We're losing 80%. If we have to, almost 80%, because 19, versus the 5, they would net, so about 14,000. We're losing that amount if we have to pay somebody because they go to an open enrollment school and we haven't set any guardrails up. And those percentages are mandated by the RSAs.
Do we know if open enrollment in general has been challenged in court yet?
So, in, so Prospect Mountain is the only open enrollment school in the state currently. They are not geographically close to us, so it's unlikely that it would impact us. Oh, yes, they're developing an online program. So, if we, have a student that enrolled in their online program when it becomes available, we would be subject to paying them tuition. And it has not been challenged yet. What we are being told is that most schools, districts are, they're including similar warrant articles, with those tight guardrails to protect the liability and exposure to the district. And, the general feeling is that, may force legislation's hand, and that they'll try to tighten it up again or in a different manner.
Seems like it's not worded very well.
No,
So this is in layman's terms, this is a defensive maneuver for us not to hemorrhage money.
yes,
Yes,
Okay.
that was perfect.
Exactly, yeah.
yes, yes.
Just wanna follow it because.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. It's been confusing for many.
And the guardrails can go outside, say you put a open enrollment in your district, you're inviting people in up to either a number or percent, typically it's a number. You can invite students in and you can set parameters, like capacity can be one of them, but it can be specialized into, for example, JROTC. It is a program that we may be able to attract students in and be able to provide that.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Oh, Chris has got a question, sorry.
Open enrollment can take any student. If you so decide, right?
If we set those parameters. So, but what we need to do before viewing it in that perspective is that we need to be clear on what our capacity is and how we're defining it. And so there are other board policies that need to be addressed to support a true open enrollment environment.
Jamie has her hand up.
No, go ahead, Jamie. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank the administration for all their hard work on, dealing with a very difficult year with changing laws and regulations at the state level that are still in flux. And trying to, bring us to a point where the school board and perhaps the budget committee can come to an agreement to bring to the voters. So that's all I wanted to say. I just want to thank you all. It hasn't been easy, I know. And I appreciate all the hard work, and what you've put forward really is, to me anyway, and I know I have an advantage, but it's very clear to follow. In listening to some of the questions tonight from the budget committee folks, I think we can tweak some of the information to make it, I don't want to say more transparent, because I think we're pretty transparent, but more easily understandable for the voters. And so thank you much, and you've done a great job.
Any more questions or comments or on the warrant articles? Next we got finalized budget on the agenda.
Will we be able to see the finalized warrants before the budget hearing next week?
So
We'll be finalizing them on Monday, our regular meeting.
By Tuesday, you'll have them out, yeah.
Yeah, I have a comment, I guess. Happy we've gotten to the 1.5 or 7 or that it is, and Lori, I want to appreciate or give my appreciation to you for all the information you've been able to provide us, and, it's been illuminating for me anyway. And I would just say this, that if we're gonna use the same litmus test for student classes sizes, we need to use it at Fall Mountain. There are a number of classes here and positions that I'll say should be reduced. I wasn't aware of the vacancy in science, that would have been 5. We have 4. We're running at 14 students per class. We know the state allows up to 30. We wouldn't even get to that. We get to 20 if we go to 3 using the block system. And I know we're not here to discuss block versus traditional, which I'm in favor of traditional, just for the record. But that would get us down quite a bit. So math, English, science, social studies, and yes, ROTC. I know no one wants to talk about ROTC, but when we're averaging 5 students a class, I begin to be curious, especially when it's $220,000 in salary and benefits. We have some things, a lot of things are moving. Walpole, Langding, a lot of things are realigning. And we need to take at some cost. If we're gonna look at special ed as much as we have to look at some of these core classes. They're underutilized, you know, and so we have more capacity. And I would be advocating that the administration look a little harder. I know you have foreign language. But again, that would be my perspective, is that you look a little harder. And even in facilities, we talked about that. I see we have a facilities position that's leaving, and I'll be the one to say it, but we need to outside source some of our services. It would benefit Charlestown if we outside source these services, especially in facilities. We pay the biggest portion of the van of maintenance, repairs, and the individuals. So I think we're in a matter of reshaping. And I think that that framework needs to be looked at in depth. I don't think we can push some of these to another year. Especially when they're just looking at us right in the face that, yeah, that's an easy decision.
Go ahead, Jamie.
So Chris, I appreciate your insight, and I know you've spent a lot of time on this, and I appreciate that as well. Having been an administrator in a school district that dealt with maintenance and issues in that respect, the only thing I'm going to say is, when's the last time you called for a contractor to come out and fix something? And how long did you wait? Because you as a homeowner calling a contractor and needing something fixed, you can wait. Sometimes, depending on what the issue is, we as a school district with a school that might have an issue, calling a contractor, if nobody's available to come, it closes a school down. So outsourcing is great as long as you have enough contractors available that can fill your needs. It's a fine line. That's all I'm going to say.
Go ahead, Lori.
I'd like to also speak to this. We had a little over 1,400 work order tickets this last year that were related to plumbing. And the position that is now open is the plumbing position. Of those, 600 were specifically heat related, okay? No heat's gonna shut the school down really quickly. We looked at what we pay a contractor to come in and assist when we don't have the equipment to take care of the problem. And we're paying about $100 an hour, okay? So if we look at the budgeted amount right now, divided by that rate, that gives us 1,200 hours. And 1,200 hours in a year isn't gonna cover and address 1,400 tickets, work order tickets in a timely manner. With the infrastructure and the age of our buildings, Jamie said it, if we can't address a problem in a timely manner, it can close school. If we can't, and that means if we don't have hot water to the kitchen, it's gonna close school. Toilets don't flush, it's gonna close school. We're not working with a population of, well, I don't want to be careful how I say this. Many of our children are responsible and many of them are, so
Less than.
kids
None.
like to challenge things, right? And it's, hey, down a toilet or in a drain and how long will it take to cause a problem? So it's not practical to not have a plumber on staff. That's
I know, I appreciate your outlook. It's a difference of opinion in terms of costs.
I just wanted to provide some data.
And I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say, probably a number of those calls are repetitive. For the same thing, didn't get fixed right the first time,
Or the same child is doing
or the same child is
behavior.
doing. So
Similar behavior. I mean,
I'm just saying that, 1,200 hours, it's quite that's a lot of time, and I think that, there's a lot that goes into it. I'm, have the same thing happens and someone's out sick, he's not available, those types of scenarios. So I think in the grand scheme for me, it would behoove the district to actually outside source that stuff, have a list of available contractors who are willing to be on call, and you're right, their rate's gonna be, and I'm gonna, again, I think that would be a more efficient and effective process than it is having inside staff. Because we provide the van, we provide the fuel, the tires, the gamut.
Mhm.
The liability insurance, the whole thing, that all is on the contractor.
Mhm.
And if it's a big enough job, like we recently had at Fall Mountain, those types of things, we had to shut the school down.
Mhm.
Those, these are the things I think a bigger service unit is what we need to call in and manage that type of job.
I think in those situations, there are going to be times that you do need to call in the contractors, because they have not only additional tools that we do not typically have within a school setting, but it may involve more than one plumber, like a team of plumbers. So, but that, when you look at the work orders as a whole, a lot of these are single action that can be taken by a licensed trained licensed plumber, master plumber. So I think I also want to address the high school. The high school is in itself supports all 5 towns. There has always been discussions on variety, I will say, of courses and classes that will support students in different models. Everybody has different interests, especially as you get older. We're providing options for students to be able to enter into, when they graduate, enter into the world to be able to be productive citizens. And you're right, there are gonna have to be some difficult choices as we continue to move forward. But at the same time, I want to recognize that we have really looked at things and are thinking about the overall impact on students, in addition to the financial responsibility that is needed for all 5 towns.
I'm not negating the work that you guys have done. I appreciate it, plus Nate. It's just that it's pretty glaring, some of the reductions that we can make. And we're gonna go into Charlestown and make reductions. Why? Because it helps our taxes. I get it. But we're not doing the same thing at Fall Mountain, which also would help reduce Charlestown's taxes.
Well, I think that you are, by eliminating the River Valley Technical Center as an option, and there are positions that have been eliminated as well, that they have looked at the high school.
Well, that was in our letter, that was separate. We had, at least we thought, 4 or 5 positions within the high school that. Not saying you have to do what we said, we had a dollar amount, we understand, but I have noticed that a vacant position that I wasn't aware of, fifth science teaching position, was removed. Okay, that should have been done prior to the original budget, in my opinion. And now we still have 4. And if we reduced it, we'd have 20 kids per class. So I don't understand the philosophy that we're taking, that's all. It's in the numbers. And we're applying it to Charlestown at the CPS level, but we're not applying it to the high school.
Go ahead, Jamie.
You know, as I sit here, I contemplate all of what's been done. And you know, if easy box as a number, it would all work out perfectly, wouldn't it? But as we all know, children are individuals. They're not all the same. They don't fit in a simple box as a number. And we have to try to accommodate what their needs are. That's why we, as a school board, are here, charged with what we're supposed to do. It's taking care of the children. And yes, does the way that New Hampshire funds public education suck? Absolutely, it does. Okay. But we as a school board and an administration have to try to make changes that are least detrimental to all of our children, not our brilliant ones, not all of our special needs ones, not all of whatever box they fit in. Okay. They are individual human beings. So let's try not to lose sight of that as we try to boil them down to a number.
Thank you, Jamie.
I appreciate that, Jamie. I think though, from a budget committee perspective, we're just trying to be as a fiduciary and responsible to the taxpayers. That's what our mission is. And I understand what the school board's mission is. All I'm saying is that if we're gonna apply one litmus test to Charlestown, we should be doing the same to all the other schools, but in particular to Fall Mountain. Can I speak?
Understood. Thank you.
So I agree with Jamie. I think the administration has done a very difficult task very well. All right, I do. I think whenever you deal with humans, it's always difficult. I've done it for my entire career. I mentioned that to Chris before the meeting started. It's very difficult, and I know you worked really hard to figure this all out. I do have concerns about some of the reductions that are proposed. That maybe they're not the right ones. Okay, not looking at dollars, just
Yeah.
things in there. Okay. People know that CTE is near and dear to my heart. But I think you made the right decision to step back from that because there are other options out there that you could look at. But there are some difficult decisions. I'm in favor of what's been presented, providing that we can do some clarity, as Jamie suggested, in the numbers so the voters understand what they're comparing things to.
so that it's very clear to the voters.
Anybody else? If we're gonna finalize the budget, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the budget as presented.
Second that.
Those in favor? We'll go,
We should do a roll call.
yeah, either start with somebody on one end or the other.
I'll vote yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
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 No.
Do you want Jamie to vote as a budget committee member as well?
I don't know if my vote counts or not, but Teague votes no.
She's not a non-voting member. I mean, there's a.
That's the law that it passed already. All right, my apologies. I will entertain a motion from the school board to accept the budget as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Chaz, how do you vote?
You're muted, Chaz.
Still
There we
muted.
go. I vote yes.
Jamie?
Teague votes no.
Aaron, yes.
Kevin, yes.
Sarah, yes.
Since it passes, I'm going to withhold. Because I don't have to yet. Motion carries. Thank you.
Well, I see any of the agenda, any more business to come before this meeting? Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any opposed? All those. Being adjourned.
Thank you.